Okay then, good afternoon, everyone. Today is August 3rd, 2020. This is a special meeting of the members of the State Liquor Authority. It's being held officially in Albany. Uh, Participating today, we have Chairman Bradley by telephone. Chairman Bradley?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here, Tom.
Okay. All right. We also have by video, you're seeing on the recording, we have Commissioner Fan as well as Commissioner Ford. All right. Also, we have General Counsel Meyerhoff who's attending by video, and myself, Secretary Donahue, who is here in person in New York. And I don't think we have Deputy Commissioner Roberts with us today. All right, then, we have 5 items on today's calendar. There are requests from Counsel's Office for emergency orders of summary suspension. We're going to start first with item 929W, Kings OP 1275724, La Vue Catering, Inc.
Sorry, Tom, can I just clarify? I believe there's 6 items. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry, there are, we got one at the end there. So yeah, there are 6 items. So the first one is 929W, Kings OP 1275724, La Vue Catering, Inc.
Yes, good afternoon. Stephen Armstrong on behalf of Counsel's Office in support of the summary suspension of license number 1275724, La Vue Catering Incorporated, doing business as La Vue, located at 3202 Emmons Avenue in Brooklyn. This premises is licensed as a restaurant serving liquor, wine, beer, and cider. Method of operation is recorded music only, no dancing. They are permitted to have security guards. The premises is 2 floors. The first is a sit-down bar restaurant. The second floor is a partially enclosed rooftop bar. First licensed in 2014, located in a mixed-use neighborhood. Yesterday, August 2nd, from approximately 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., investigators Ortiz and Spate Miller of the Executive Order Task Force conducted a visit to the premises. There was no outdoor seating set up outside, but the investigators observed 5 security guards and 2 valet employees, all of whom were not wearing face masks, assisting patrons entering the establishment. Upon entering the location, the investigators announced their presence to a manager who allowed them to enter and conduct their inspection. Investigators first went to the ground floor kitchen area where they observed 6 employees preparing food. They were not wearing facial coverings. The investigators next went up to the second floor of the premises. On the way there, they observed approximately 6 patrons on the steps inside the premises drinking what appeared to be alcoholic beverages from a bar. At the top of the steps, the landing, sort of a waiting area for the rooftop bar, investigators observed an additional 40 patrons congregating together without masks. There were also 6 additional security guards on the second floor, all of whom were observed not wearing masks. Upon entering the rooftop bar area, investigators observed approximately 150 patrons total, seated and standing. Some were dancing, many holding alcoholic beverages. As you can see from the photos, most are not wearing facial coverings of any kind. Due to the seriousness of the violations observed, the investigators immediately notified their contact at the Department of Health. Shortly after, approximately 10:25 p.m., officers from the 61st NYPD precinct arrived at the premises and asked the head of security to close down and clear out the patrons immediately. According to the licensee certificate of occupancy, the maximum capacity for the second floor rooftop bar area is only 136 people. So the licensee was operating this rooftop bar at or above capacity in a manner that clearly violates Executive Orders 202.38 and 202.16. As the photos make clear, you had numerous people in close contact underneath the various enclosures that have been set up by the licensee, most not wearing masks, and this creating an environment that poses an immediate threat to the public health, safety, and welfare. Based on this record, I ask the members vote to summarily suspend this license pursuant to Section 413 of the State Administrative Procedure Act. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions? Commissioner Fan, you're muted, your mic.
Sorry, Mr. Armstrong. Is there any allegation of indoor service, or are the crowds just sort of outside in front of the establishment and outside in the rooftop deck?
For the most part, they were outside in the rooftop and in the waiting area. There were, as I said, 6 patrons observed on the stairwell up to the second floor who were observed consuming alcohol inside the premises.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
It looks like their license was just renewed on June 29th. And that's a question, or maybe a statement. And my other question is this is a catering license? So I think this was a private event they stated. It's a catering hall.
I actually think the name of the company it's called catering, but I don't think it's actually a catering license.
It is not a catering establishment license, Commissioner Ford.
Okay. It was noted that it was a private event they said they were having, though, because they were charging admission to get in, too, I believe. So I don't have any more questions.
Chairman Bradley, you have any questions?
No question.
All right, with that, I'll call for your votes. Commissioner Fan.
This licensee really should know better than to have a congregation of almost 200 people within the establishment, either outside or indoors or upstairs on the roof deck. They violated multiple governor's executive order. There's not sufficient use of face masks by both patrons and employees, and overcrowding and drinking inside in large groups. This is a clear, blatant disregard for the authority and the governor's executive order, and due to immediate threat to public health, safety, and welfare, I vote to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford.
In addition to those violations, they permitted patron dancing, which is not filed on their MO. They also observed hookah was also being observed being shared between patrons, which is not the healthiest thing, I would think. So for those reasons, plus others stated by council and Commissioner Fan, I vote to summarily suspend.
All right, then. Chairman Bradley, your vote, please.
This is a licensee that clearly just does not get it, does not have a concern for their employees, their customers, or the public health. At this stage, they should be shut. I'm voting to summarily suspend due to the risk to the public health, safety, and welfare.
Okay, then the next item I have is 929X, Queens OP 1307844, Bermeo Food Corp. Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon, members of the board. This is Bermeo Food Corp. doing business as El Manaba Restaurant, Queens OP 1307844. First license in 2018. Last night, investigators inspected the premises and found at least 10 patrons inside eating and drinking. 4 employees were not wearing protective facial coverings and not social distancing. These are violations of Executive Orders 202.3, 202.16. In view of the foregoing, we request an emergency order of summary suspension to protect the public health.
Commissioner Fan, any questions?
I have no questions.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Chairman Bradley?
No questions.
All right, with that, I'll call for your vote. Commissioner Fan?
When Manhattan or New York City went into phase 4, it was well publicized by the mayor that there is no indoor service. And so therefore, in theory, indoor service has been banned in New York City consistently since March 16. This licensee is serving inside in broad daylight. I mean, we can see there's, there are people everywhere inside, at the bar and at different tables. This licensee is clearly disregarding the governor's executive order and putting his own employees and his patrons at risk by not requiring usage of face masks within the establishment. And due to immediate threat to public health, safety, and welfare, I'm voting to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford.
And I would only add to that, that employees were noted as not wearing proper face coverings as required as well. So I vote to summarily suspend.
Chairman Bradley.
I vote to summarily suspend on the same grounds as the other two commissioners.
The next item I have is 929Y, New York OP 1102941, the Greek Kitchen, Inc.
Greek Kitchen is located in New York City. There's no indoor dining in New York City. A complaint was received regarding indoor dining at the establishment. Last night, the investigator observed several customers dining inside the licensed establishment in violation of Executive Order 202.3. As a result, we are requesting an emergency order of summary suspension of the license to protect the public health.
Hey, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Ford, any questions?
Yes, that area that the patrons are dining in, the pictures make it look like, is it an extension of indoor? It looks like semi-permanent. I'm not quite sure what to make of it.
Yeah, it's glass enclosed. It's definitely indoors. It's not outdoor dining.
Yes, it's Gary here. It's not an outdoor dining, in addition, because it's not open, actually on any side. So it would qualify as a fixed roof, fixed structure, not outdoor dining.
I asked because it looks like it's extended on out to the sidewalk. That's why I was wondering if was this a permanent structure that has been there anyway.
Okay, Commissioner Fan, you broke up a little bit there.
This,
Commissioner Fan, you're, Commissioner Fan. Commissioner Fan, you're, Commissioner Fan, your audio is breaking. We couldn't make out any, we can't make out what you're saying. Right. Commissioner Fan. All right, Commissioner Fan. Commissioner Fan, we could not make out anything you said. Your video, your audio rather, was breaking up. All right. Commissioner Fan, could you try calling into the meeting, because your video is your connection is breaking up quite a bit. All right, Chairman Bradley, do we still have you?
Yeah, ask her to rehook up, please, because I missed all of that, and I'm sure everybody else did too, and the tape did as well. Can someone email her and ask her to rehook up?
I just did.
Commissioner Fan, can you hear or see us now? All right, I'm going to ask you if you could leave the meeting and then get back in because your current connection is very bad. And what I'm going to propose is that we proceed with the vote with Commissioners Ford and Chairman Bradley then.
Has she voted already?
No, she's trying to get
There's
back
no-
in right now.
All right, there's been no votes yet. I believe Commissioner Fan was responding to some questions that Commissioner Ford had. Commissioner Fan, can you hear or see us at all? Because I see you're still connected. No, you're breaking up still. All right, I'm going. Chairman Bradley, do you have any questions?
No questions.
All right, I'm going to, for this matter, I'm going to request that we just proceed with you and Chair and Commissioner Ford. And unless either one of you have any more questions, I'll call for your vote. Commissioner Ford?
This licensee was clearly allowing indoor dining in violation of executive order, so I vote to summarily suspend.
Chairman Bradley?
I vote to summarily suspend as well. It's obvious that this is indoor dining. The indoor dining it's widely known is not allowed in New York City. There's clearly a risk to the public health, safety, and welfare at this time.
All right, I'm going to move on to the next item, which is 929Z, Bronx OP 1292335, Exotic Lounge, Inc. Commissioner Fan, you're still breaking up, Commissioner Fan.
Secretary Donahue, can you hear us okay here in New York?
Yeah, you're fine in New York if you want to go ahead and proceed with the item.
Because all of you are breaking up for us. You, GC Meyer, Commissioner Fan, the video is cutting out on all of you for us, for what we're seeing on the screen. But if you can hear me okay, I'll continue with the presentation.
We can hear you, and we have you on the video screens.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Alex Hoy for Counsel's Office. Counsel's Office submits the subject licensee, Exotic Lounge, Inc., located at 10 West Mount Eden Ave, Bronx, New York, to the members of the authority to consider an emergency order of summary suspension.
Hold on just for a second.
Sure.
Commissioner Fan, is that you calling in?
Yes.
All right, so we have you now. Okay.
I have to say, Tom, before you proceed, I don't know what's being recorded. I
I'm
don't know
sitting
what's
right
being
here.
recorded,
It's just
but I
not
also
really
hear-
connecting.
Please, okay, everybody, one at a time, please, because we're all talking over everybody else. Gary?
Yeah, I hear your voice
better now,
breaking
Tom?
up, and I don't know what's being recorded.
Yes.
And if Alex is also hearing that, then there may
Okay,
be
hold
an
on a
issue
second.
with what we're recording.
Okay, well, can everybody hear me right now?
I hear you very clearly, Tom.
All right. Council, can you hear me all right now?
I can.
All right, and Commissioner Fan?
I can hear you, Tom.
All right, let's proceed then. I'll return back to New York City.
Of course. A suspension of its on-premises liquor license pursuant to subject 413 of SAPA. Exotic Lounge, Inc. was issued an OP license on November 21, 2016, and it expires on October 31, 2020. It is licensed to operate as a bar tavern with the following full board stipulations. Sunday through Wednesday, it closes by 1 a.m. Thursday through Saturday. It closes by 2 a.m. Recorded music only, no DJs, no live music, and no promoters. The sole principal is Francisco Antonio Polino. The restaurant is located in a mixed-use area. On August 2nd, 2020, at approximately 9:40, SLA investigator Chavillo visited the licensed premises. While there, he observed and photographed at least 25 patrons congregating in front of the licensed premises, both on the sidewalk and in and around the sidewalk cafe area. Many of these patrons were not wearing masks and not social distancing. Additionally, many of these patrons were drinking from open containers. And finally, there was a DJ present, a DJ set up next to the sidewalk cafe area. I think in this instance, it's a perfect example of the picture is worth 1,000 words. The investigators' report includes a number of pictures where you can clearly see the sidewalk is absolutely packed with people. None of them have masks. They're all standing around. Several of them are drinking. There's clearly absolutely no regard for the concerns related to COVID-19 right now. This is clearly not the type of dining experience intended to be permitted by the executive orders and the SLA guidance. This licensee is essentially providing an outdoor nightclub experience with loud music, allowing patrons to stand around, drink, socialize, smoke hookah, etc. This type of behavior is currently disallowed in New York City under the executive orders because it is the exact type of behavior that is highly likely to spread the COVID-19 virus. At this point in time, the licensee cannot claim to be unaware of the executive orders and the SLA guidance. Both have been in place and available for public review for months now. The executive orders were designed to prevent the spread of COVID-19, a deadly virus, and this licensee clearly cannot be trusted to follow the law, even when human life so obviously depends upon it. At this time, permitting large gatherings such as this one, with patrons socializing, not social distancing, not wearing masks, poses an imminent risk to the public health, safety, and welfare. Therefore, we respectfully request that the members summarily suspend this license.
Okay, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
I'm good, thank you.
Chairman Bradley?
I have no questions, thanks.
All right then, with that, I will call for your votes. Commissioner Fan?
This licensee, as council outlined, is clearly not going to follow the governor's executive orders. They're playing extremely loud music. They're basically having a nightclub on the street. This is a waste of valuable investigative resources, and due to imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, I am voting to summarily suspend this license.
Commissioner Ford?
This licensee is in violation of Executive Orders 202.38 regarding outside service and social distancing, Executive Order 202.43 regarding social distancing and open container laws. They've failed to exercise adequate supervision, and they've also been using a DJ against the stipulations that the full board approved for their license. So I vote to summarily suspend.
Chairman Bradley?
I vote to summarily suspend on the same grounds as the other commissioners. It's obvious that this place has become a risk to the public health, safety, and welfare.
All right, then the next item I have is 929AA, Queens OP 1301331, Kazan Mangal, Inc.
Good afternoon, Chairman Bradley, Commissioners Fan and Ford, Senior Attorney Caromino on behalf of Council's office. This request for a summary order of suspension for Kazan Mangal Inc., Queens OP 1301331. August 2nd, last night at 4 o'clock, investigator Sheikh Hoke entered the licensed premises and observed 4 seated patrons eating food and drinking beverages inside the premises. The investigator Hoke reviewed this noncompliance with the manager, and the licensee is being charged of violating the Executive Order 202.3 as well as failure to supervise this violation. This is not the first executive order case brought against this licensee. On July 26, 2020 at 7 o'clock p.m., investigator Joe Owen observed 2 patrons eating food inside the premises. Investigator Owen pointed out the violation to a manager at the premises, a Mr. Rafailov Yuri, who stated to Investigator Owen that he was aware that the patrons should not have been consuming food or beverages on the premises. Mr. Yuri then called the owner of the premises in the presence of Investigator Owen so that the investigator can convey to the owner the nature of the violations, after which the owner stated that he, quote, will talk to the manager, unquote. A notice of pleading alleged failure to supervise as well as an Executive Order 202.3 violation was forwarded to licensee on July 30th for this first occurrence. The need for licensees to prohibit on-premises consumption of food or alcoholic beverages in New York City is central to the governor's executive orders during the reopening in the name of public health and safety and has been widely reported via media sources. As a result, it is the position of the Office of Counsel it's not reasonable to believe that a licensed retailer in New York City can be unaware of his responsibilities to prohibit on-premises consumption of food or beverages. Indeed, the manager admitted to Investigator Owen that he was well aware of the need to prohibit consumption of food or beverages on the licensed premises during the reopening period. The owner further stated he would, quote, talk to the manager, unquote, about such violations. As a result, it is the position of the Counsel's office that the licensee was fully aware of his responsibility to prohibit on-premises consumption of food or beverages in his New York City licensed premises during the reopening, but merely chose to attempt to circumvent this requirement in an effort to gain more customers at the expense of his more responsible competitors who have followed the rules. Due to the foregoing, the Office of Counsel hereby requests an immediate summary order of suspension be issued for this license. Thank you for your time.
All right, with that, any questions, Commissioner Fan?
No, I don't have any questions.
Commissioner Ford, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions either, Tom. Thank you.
And Chairman Bradley?
I have no questions. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'll call for your votes. Commissioner Fan?
Hi, this licensee is violating the governor's executive order by allowing indoor service and therefore putting the lives and health of its patrons and employees at risk. And I'm voting to summarily suspend this license due to imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare.
And Commissioner Ford?
I vote to suspend for the same reason.
And Chairman Bradley?
I vote to summarily suspend for the same reason.
All right, thank you. The next item I have is 929BB, Bronx OP 1311424. Licensee is 127 Westchester Square Restaurant, LLC.
Thank you, Secretary Donahue. Good afternoon, members of the authority. Robert Buckley for New York City Council's office. This matter, serial number 1311424, a license issued to 127 Westchester Square Restaurant LLC at 129 Westchester Square, Bronx, New York. It's been issued a restaurant full liquor license. Obviously, Bronx is within the confines of New York City. Last night, August 2nd, 2020, members of an executive order task force visited licensed premises from 8:30 p.m. until approximately 9 p.m. They encountered a manager, Tanya Martinez Hurtado. They discussed with Ms. Martinez Hurtado the fact that these investigators observed people sitting at the bar drinking. Also, a male was eating and drinking by a DJ booth, and people were sitting at a table eating and drinking. The single person who was eating and drinking by the DJ booth was identified by the manager as a employee, as a DJ, and the persons eating and drinking inside the location were identified as owners and members of the family of the owner. The person who then apparently stepped forward as one of the co-owners was a Jose Antonio Rosado. Mr. Rosado is is not a principal of this license. The sole principal, in fact, is a Javier Rodriguez, and Mr. Rodriguez was on site and is identified as an assistant manager. As the fact that persons were eating and drinking inside the location is in violation of Executive Order 202.3, which does not allow any service of food and beverages within the confines of New York City, has been in effect since March 16th of this year, as well as the premises had persons both standing and seated drinking alcohol beverages at an outdoor area. These persons appear to be engaged in conversation. They appear to be drinking also from open containers. And obviously the Sidewalk Cafe was within 100 feet of the premises, so in violation of the Executive Order 202.43, the premises allowed social distancing. Persons not to engage in social distancing, not wearing face coverings, and drinking from open containers. And lastly, there was a male server who appeared to be in conversation with persons who appeared to be wearing his face covering more as a chin strap, did not cover his nose and mouth. That's in violation of Executive Order 202.16, which requires employees to be wearing face coverings. And as I stated before, the persons outside, in violation of Executive Order 202.17, failed to have proper face coverings. This premises had been inspected on June 21st, 2020 by Executive Order Task Force. On that day, 2 persons were observed to be dining and drinking beer at a sidewalk at table, not social distancing and not wearing face coverings. There was a notice of pleading brought under case 143315. The licensee is pleaded not guilty by its attorney, Frank W. Polillo. And as to this matter, before the members today, right before I came into the room, a notice of pleading has been issued and will be served promptly. I've provided to the members a diagram as well, and part of the establishment questionnaire, which indicates that the premises has a capacity of 120-130 people. Most of those persons should be sitting at tables. But it appears that, again, the principal of this license, this Mr. Javier Rodriguez, didn't identify himself as the owner. In fact, there was another person who, again, has no connection with the premises, identified himself as one of the co-owners. And it appears that the premises was clearly allowing service inside the location, which is injurious to the public health, welfare, and safety under the State Administrative Procedure Act. So council requests that emergency order suspension be issued by the board.
Yes, let me add, it's Gary Meyerhoff. Let me add that obviously in a circumstance where the owner thinks he's an assistant manager and a manager says he's the owner and the like, and no one is supervising location, that this presents a serious issue for us and for the state in attempting to enforce strict restrictions on service at this juncture. And we will certainly investigate that, and there may also be an availing charge necessary here. But I think, as Mr. Buckley made clear, the supervision is not adequate to ensure that these violations are not taking place. Thank you.
All right, with that, Commissioner Fan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any. Thank you, Tom.
Commissioner Ford, any questions?
I'm all good, Tom. Thank you.
Chairman Bradley.
I have no questions. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'll call for your votes. Commissioner Fan.
This licensee clearly is violating multiple governor's executive order. And since it seems like there's no one in charge, at this licensed premise, it's going to be very hard for us to continue to enforce the governor's executive orders and other ABC laws. They have violated the executive orders by allowing indoor service, not sufficient use of face masks, lots of chin covers being used, and lots of standing around and drinking outside. This location is a waste of valuable investigative resources, and due to imminent threat to public health, safety, and welfare, I'm voting to summarily suspend this license.
All right, Commissioner Ford.
I vote to summarily suspend for all the same reasons as Commissioner Fance noted.
Chairman Bradley.
I vote to summarily suspend for the same reasons, and I question whether this licensee should ever open again, given the fact that nobody knows who actually is supervising the place, and without supervision, there's no way these executive orders can be followed.
All right, with that, Chairman Bradley, you have anything else? I have nothing else on the calendar.
No, nothing else. Thank you all. Thank you.
All right, with that, the meeting is
Thank
adjourned.
you.
Thank you.